It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso right here on SABC3. As we have been saying the entire morning, it's day 100 and something, week 100 and something of lockdown.
It's day shmeh, yeah.
But we know that the lockdown has presented many challenges for South Africans, one of them being the surge in gender-based violence.
Sure.
Gender activist Lucinda Evans and founder of the Philisa Abafazi Bethu organization, which means Heal Our Women in his cause, have been hard at work seeking to provide restoration and dignity to women and children of Lavender Hill. She does this through the safe house she provides for women and children running away from violent homes, and joins us this morning to share more. A very good morning to you, Lucinda. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing well, thank you. How are you?
Well, it's woes. Doing well, but it's woes in the field. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy because it is day 100 and whatever, because I also lost count. but it's going good. Thank you very much for asking.
Lucinda, first of all, thank you so much for doing what you're doing, for putting this out there as well so that other people can see and hear what you're doing, because you know, I mean, it's struggle. We're all struggling at the moment to identify what the most important conversation is to be having right now, but this might be that conversation. What questions do we need to be asking ourselves, specifically young men, because I believe that's who needs to be having this conversation right now, around violence against women? Where do we begin, and what subsequent changes in thinking and behavior need to happen? Where do we need to interject? How do we start this? Because we are screaming, begging for answers at this stage.
I think where we need to start is providing services for young men. In our field of gender-based violence, there's a lot of, all of us are doing different type of services to protect women and children. But we have to ask the question, do we equally provide the same services for young men? Young men that sometimes realize that they have a problem, realize that the challenges that they too face is of a magnitude that sometimes the only way how they can resolve the issues is through violence. And so some of the critical questions I ask myself as the head of Philisa Abafazi, I am soon to build a new family and women's center. I'm moving in this week to the Sullivan Sports Field. And I've changed my narrative a bit where I'm saying that I'm opening my women family center to young men in distress. Young men that realize that they have no way out as violence to resolve their problems, to come to us. And we want to work with other partners, with Sonke and other organizations that work with men to bring the services into our communities. You know, it was shocking in the last 60 days when we saw the spate of murders of women. But I particularly looked at how old were the women and how old were the perpetrators. And some of those perpetrators, alleged perpetrators, my apologies, were younger than 30, were 25, were 20, were 18, a 14-year-old in Makassar. And I asked the question, why? Why has our young men become so violent? What has happened in their lives when they were children? What did they see? What did they experience? And so the conversations we need to start, for me, and then I put my hand on my chest as a woman leader that is out there advocating for the protection of our bodies and the vagina, is that can we start with having an open conversation about how do we make services available for young men? Can we start having the conversation and ask the churches, the mosque, the synagogues, places of worship where there are men that are the examples, youth clubs, can you redesign some of your programs that you have the conversations in your places of worship?
No,
the
completely.
churches and the mosque, and also at the traditional schools. So I have no idea what happens in traditional schools when young men goes, but can those elders start having this conversation about respecting your mother? Because it starts in the home, respecting your sister. And can we have the honest conversation with mothers that are protecting their sons, knowing that their sons are doing wrong. And so yesterday, somebody flagged on a Facebook page, not too far from where I live, a young man that smacked his girlfriend in the road. And the mother put a post on his Facebook page to call him out. And she publicly called him out. If you put something like that on Facebook, you publicly call him out. But, you know, the mom calling him out to what he did, and the response to that was that, you know, I wanted to have a conversation with the mom too, and ask her, you know, you saw your child going into a relationship where there were issues and issues of violence. It escalated to the physical point where he smacked her in the road. So at what point do we as mothers, you know, interject? We speak to our daughters about the kind of choices and relationships that they have in terms of boyfriends that potentially way in the beginning show the signs of what we call jealousy. You may not be with other friends, you're just with me. Delete and block your friends that you have. And we know what these signs are. You are then being isolated from your social groups, from your family groups, because you're just mine and I want you for myself. And those are some of the signs that should flag to us as women, as girlfriends, as young women, that something is wrong. As a mother, I will not have my 14-year-old daughter have a relationship with a 28-year-old. And we find in these circumstances, we have 14, 15, 16-year-old girls dating 25 to 30-year-old men. Where do we start by interjecting in our daughters' lives and tell our daughters, you know, this is not how it's supposed to be. We need to have the conversation with this adult male in terms of what is your interest in my daughter? My daughter's only 14, you're 28.
No, for sure. I mean, we could probably devote the entire show, and maybe we are heading in that direction, and I'm so glad that so many more people are talking about this. I think the one thing that really is jumping out for me is I would imagine there are a lot of young women that are wanting this kind of resource to be able to talk to someone in your space who has a deeper level of understanding. How can people get more information about the work that you are doing, both from the side of supporting the work that you're doing so that you can get to a point where you can open more centers and be able to help more women? But for a woman needing help right now, what should she do and where can she go?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make our emergency number available. We have a social worker that has the telephone, and our number is 076 270 3050. I also want to tell you that with building the new center, we've made a decision to build an additional emergency safe space for women and the LGBTI. And I'm needing to raise an additional 300,000 Rand to have the space available. We are in the process of moving to the Sullivan Sports Field in Steenberg. Some of our containers is already there. So if anybody could help us just to get that emergency safe space up, we'll appreciate it. But our emergency telephone number is available 24/7. It gets a person between two people. So if the social worker, she will manage during the day. And then at night, there's somebody that does it after hours. Please get in contact with us.
All right, and we've got your details.
If you need somebody to talk to.
No, thank you so much. And we've got your details, Palisa Abafazi, up on our screen. We'll put them up on our social media platforms as well. I mean, you are so switched on, and I really do appreciate the time that you are taking to spread this message. So much of what you've said has already helped me grapple with things that I've really been struggling with for a long time, and where do we even begin within the media to begin this conversation. So I think we're going to bring you back on, I have no doubt, to hopefully talk about more success stories in this space. But Lucinda, thank you so much for the work that you are doing every single day, and for putting yourself out there to discuss this with us on the show. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
These tough conversations truly need to be had. Gender-based violence is a pandemic we are only now truly starting to confront, but it's a pandemic we can defeat if we work together.